Welcome back. Let's learn about another hook called useRef. So why useRef is used? It is used to refer a value such that when the component re-renders, then the value will remain preserved. Okay, and even when you update that value, that updation must not cause the re-rendering. Okay, so let me show you. So I have created a component called lecture 10. Okay, let's go to it and let's code it here. So we will use useRef hook. Okay, and then we will pass in the initial value that it must refer. So let's say initial value is 0. You can pass in here any JavaScript primitive or object. Okay, now it returns me a plain JavaScript object. Okay, so let's store it in const ref object. Okay, so this represents my object that is referring to this value 0. Okay, now let's say I create a button. Okay, and just give it name click me, and then on click. Okay, such that whenever you click on this button, then you will update this value. Okay, so first of all let me tell you that this object is in this form. This object is such that, okay, let me just, okay, now in this object it contains a single property called current, and then here you will, here the value will reside. Okay, that you're referring here 0, so here the current will be 0 for now. Okay, so now when you click on this button, then what would happen? Then you would actually want to mutate this value. So let's say you want to increment this value every time you click on this button. So here you would do ref object dot current. Okay, and then you would simply increment it. Okay, so uh, now let's go to your browser and see, here is a button click me. Okay, and now go to inspect. So also just type in here console clicked. Okay, and here you would console ref object. Okay, so now see, in the console you have nothing for now because you have not actually clicked on this button. Now if I click on it, you can see click has been done, and the value has been incremented. Okay, and now if I again click, so it has been incremented. So now as you have seen that whenever I click, then then I can refer this value which is accessed through useRef. Okay, which is maintained by useRef hook. Okay, now let's see another button. Okay, let's create another button, and now it will be used to increment. Okay, okay, just let me wrap these two elements within a single uh, okay, empty HTML tag. Now there is another button. Okay, now on, or let's give it another name of re-render. Okay, this button will ensure that your component will re-render the component. Okay, now give it a on click, on click, and whenever you click on this, then you will here update your state. So let's create here another state. Okay, using use state. So state, then set state. Okay, and then use state, and now initialize it with let's say some value. Okay, let's say with 0. Okay, now whenever you click on this second button, then you will update your state. So sets, you will call set state, and pass in the new value. So you will get the previous value from state. Okay, and then you will simply increment it. Okay, now whenever this on click method is run, it will update the state, and as soon as state is updated, then it will re-render the component with the updated state. Okay, now you will find that whenever your component is re-rendered, then your ref object's value will not be affected. Okay, so let's see. So let's just refresh it. And now here are two buttons. Okay, let me just give some space here. You can just add in line breaks here. Okay, now save it. Now when you click on this click me, okay, it will actually update your ref object. So it has been updating, and now the value of ref dot current has become 3. Okay, now the for now the component has not been re-rendered. Okay, because whenever you update this object ref object, then your component does not re-render. Now when you click on this button, second button, then your component will re-render. Okay, now click on it. Okay, your component has been re-rendered. Okay, now let me adjust console here also, so that you will be able to see console on it, re-rendered. Okay, now also let me just not edit here. Let me add another hook. I assume that you know that about another hook called use effect. Okay, and it will be fired whenever your component is re-rendered. Therefore I have so let me not just add here a dependency. Okay, so now it will be run executed whenever your component is re-rendered. So here you can add console. One thing you can console is ref object, and another thing you can console is your state. Okay, now save it, go back to your application, refresh it. Now if you click on click me, then your ref object has been updated. Okay, so now remember the ref object's current value is 1. Now if you click on re-render, so your component is re-rendered. Okay, and now your component is re-rendered. How is that verified? It is verified if this use effect code is run or not. If it runs, then it means your component is re-rendered. So see here, your this console is on the line 27 and line 17. So see, on line 17 and 18 are being written in use effect. So it means when you click on this re-render the component button, then your component is re-rendered. Okay, therefore it has been consoled. So first thing consoled is but we are consoling ref object. So see, when re-render happen, yet the value that you store using useRef, it is still being the same which was earlier before the re-rendering. Okay, so this value is before re-rendering, and after re-rendering the value remains preserved. Okay, and this is the value of your state which causes the re-render. So that's the benefit of using useRef. First thing is that as the state updation cause the re-renders, the updation of ref object does not cause re-render. And second thing, uh, it remains it the value that use ref is referring to remains preserved. Okay, whereas if you try to actually make a simple variable. Okay, let's say where let's say another my variable. Okay, and then if you give it some value, let's say 10, and now if you actually think that whenever I click on this button, okay, so see, okay, so let me just click on this button on click me, and it will update the my variable value. Okay, so my variable will be incremented by 1. Okay, and now console it my variable. Okay, now save it, now go back, and I will tell you. So see, whenever you click on click me, your variable's value has been updated. Okay, and it has become 11. Now if you again click, it has become 12. Okay, so, because your component is not re-rendered, therefore your value of the plain variable is preserved. Okay. Now, when you click on re-render in on second button, then your component is again re-evaluated. Okay, and when it reevaluate, then this variable is again made newly. Okay, the previous variable value will be lost. Even the reference that this variable is making to a memory location will be lost when your component is again re-rendered, and hence a new variable is created which is again initialized with 10. Okay, so this way when your component is re-rendered, then this type of variables have got lost. Okay, therefore we are obliged to uh, store our values in a state, like using use state or use ref. Okay, so let's see. If I click on re-render, you can see when I click on re-render, okay, so here I must console it also, console my variable. Okay, now save it. So you can see here uh, 10, okay, on 20 line. So on 20 we are consoling my variable, so when it re-renders, then the 10 value has been displayed. So it means your values that you store using uh, the plain JavaScript code, then it won't be preserved during re-renders. To preserve the things, you must use hooks. Okay, and one hook is useRef, and it is used to refer a value whose updation must not cause the re-rendering of your component like other states. Okay, now let's understand another use case that can be used to by useRef. So another thing is that it can be used to refer a DOM node. Okay, so like you can see here this button and this line break and this button, these are all the HTML tags, and there is a node in the DOM tree corresponding to these each tag. Okay, so in the plain JavaScript you must have seen that we have the facility to use document object to manipulate these DOM nodes. Okay, like using document dot, so let me write it here, like document dot get element by id, and then you can pass in here the id. It will actually give you, it will give you a reference to the DOM node. Okay, uh, okay, so this way you can actually refer the DOM node and manipulate it. So now here you can get the reference to a DOM node by using useRef. So how can you do so? So let me just get rid of this by let me just comment it down, and now here let me create an input tag. Okay, now let give it text, also give it a label and HTML4. So this HTML4 is equivalent to using 4 attribute in the plain HTML. So here you have to give the ID of the input tag. So let me give it ID. Let's say name. So here I must give it name. Enter your name. Okay. Now save it. So now see. Now whenever user types in the input box, then so let me go here. Now close this dev tool. Now whenever user types in here, okay, then it is the functionality of input box that whatever user types in, it will be displayed uh, on in the input box. Okay, so let me type in here Ayush. Okay, so see when I typed in AYUSH, so then everything will be displayed. Okay, now so here I do not need to re-render my component to display the name. Okay, so hence I can refer this DOM node input using useRef. So let me also comment it out and create a ref. Okay, ref object that will be referring to input. Okay, so useRef. So initially it is not referring to any DOM node. It is not referring to any DOM node. Initially it does not, because yet my component has not been mounted. Okay. And when my component is not mounted, then how can I expect this that these nodes have been created in the DOM tree? They will obviously not created in the DOM tree. Therefore, I will initialize it with null. Now, in this input tag, there is an attribute called ref. And inside this ref, I can pass my ref object that I got from here. So let me pass it here, input ref. So now what do you expect? Now here you can expect that your input ref object, which is actually a plain JavaScript object, which has a only one property called current, will be holding a reference. So here it will be a reference to input to the DOM node, corresponding to input tag. Okay, so corresponding to this tag, whatever be the node present in DOM tree, will you will have the access to that node, DOM node, here in the current property. Okay, so here check it you can check it here. So let me just add here another button. Okay, and on click, whenever I click on it, I will simply console. Okay, I will simply console the input ref, so that I will be able to check the ref. Okay, now save it and go back. Now here on the inspect in the console, so let me just clear the console. Okay, now here if I type in my name, okay, let's say Ayush. Now if I click on this button, now see in the current property, it is referring to the name having the ID name. Okay, now see it has taken me to this input tag. Okay, now in the console, let's go back, and if you click on it, see on the left side, it has already highlighted the area that this current property refers to. Okay, so this way you can get the access to a DOM node. Okay, by using the useRef. Now now let's see how can you manipulate that element. So when I want that whenever I click on this button, then the input tag must get in focus. So by getting in focus, I mean that whenever I click on this button, then automatically uh, the the entering of my keypad must start from in this area, in this input box. Okay, so see now the input box is in focus, because my mouse has been inside this input box. Now whenever I type from my keyboard, then it will be entered in the input box. Now when I just go out and click anywhere else, okay, now this input box is not in focus. Now if I type in something, then that won't be reflected in the input box. So that's the meaning of bringing the input box in focus. Okay, so now I want that whenever I click on this button, then the input box must get in focus. Okay, so see how can we do it. So this button, okay, whenever I click on this button, so with along with console, I will simply add I will simply get input ref dot current. Okay, so this will give me a reference to a DOM node, and now there is an inbuilt function called focus. Okay, and now call it. So by doing so, your input box will get in focus. Now save it, go back, refresh it, and now whenever, so let me enter something, now get it out of focus. Now click on it, see it has got in focus. Now let me just, so see here when I, so let me first of all get out of focus. Now click on button. Now see the input box has been highlighted. So that's how you can get access to the DOM node and use and can manipulate it. Okay, thank you.